I hope so.
And you can make an example today just for because we're still getting on this meeting, even though you're in Mississippi.
And tomorrow's Thanksgiving.
Yeah. And so,
We're on live.
no, tomorrow's not Thanksgiving. It's Thursday. This is Tuesday, isn't it?
Tomorrow's Thanksgiving. Oh, is it? Yeah, Wednesdays. Oh, yeah, you're right. Never mind.
I was going, I won on that one finally.
All right, we're live. I don't even know what day it is.
Live. We're losing days. But what we're talking about today is stay on track, even if you're off track. Basically, do the things.
What do you mean
Okay,
by that?
let's. Okay, basically that means. Okay, guys,
What do you...
we go back to if anyway the ease process. I like to just say ease. Do a little bit each day towards your goals and what you're going to do. Sometimes you have to get off track to stay on track. So even when Scott or I have to do an event, he needs to be on track when he gets to the event, but he can be off track while he's working on other things. Like he might need to buy some extra speakers or extra equipment so he can be professional. I might need to do, go get more balloons if I was doing a balloon gig or if I was doing, uh, you know, if I'm juggling knives or fire, I might need to go buy more fluid. I might need to clean my equipment. I might need to even upgrade my equipment or keep it in proper condition. So, what are you doing each day when you don't have? You're saying, "I've got this big project. I can't get any of that done today." So, do something else. Do your laundry. Do your housework. Get your cars ready for when the events come. So always stay in motion towards your goals, even if it's just a little thing each day. Because if you stay in motion, wheels in motion tend to stay in motion. If you start being stagnant, then it's easier just to say, "Oh, I'll do it again," and then you get in a habit of not getting your stuff done. So every day, truly improve your life a little bit, and also for the happiness, really take at least 2 or 3 minutes a day to find something that makes you happy. I don't care if it's eating a piece of chocolate or just going to the mirror and saying, "I love and accept myself." Because you're the only one you're going to have to live with for the rest of your life. So it's okay. It's okay to love yourself. I don't mean like a narcissist, but yet you want to be able to save yourself, just like on a boat or the plane, so you can do the stuff it takes when you get there. Because if you can't save yourself, how are you going to save everybody else? So that's a little bit. There you go. You take over, Scott. We always want to give a little bit of information and what we're doing. I'm doing the same thing over here. I work every day a little bit on something. I'm going to probably be working on some of the challenges that came across. See, for this week and last week, somebody hacked into my account and stole like 800, well, 700,000 sky miles. So I had to get a new card, and then somebody hacked in that card, and now I'm waiting for the other card so I can switch over everything. So, and it's I'm not crying here. I'm just saying this is why we work on resilience, happiness, to have what happens when something like this occurs. It's not what happens to you and all your business or whatever. It's how you're going to deal with it. The big guys have gone all the way from being a millionaire almost to nothing and back to a millionaire, and because they have what it takes. Are you doing the thing it takes to get you to where you
I don't know. There's so many different avenues to talk about, but basically, um, if you're not doing anything, what are you actually getting accomplished? And if you're overworked and you need to take a break, well, that's what I did the last couple of days. But yeah, I'm over here in Mississippi visiting the in-laws, and I was like, well, I've had a couple of days off, and what can I do to get ready for the next challenges? Because we're about ready to hit December, and we have a lot of different things going on. And I like I could have blew off this weekly thing that we do over here with the chit chat, but I was like, no, time for me to get back into gear, back into motion. December's coming. There's a lot of things going on, and what can I do to prepare for that while, still staying on my feet and still moving forward? Because that's the whole reason why I flew to San Diego, is because I know that things have to keep moving, keep staying on track. Because when you look at a DJ company or entertainment business, if there's no shows, then there's no business. So what's the next step? What else can you get moving? Because if there's no shows this month, then you're not getting paid, or so it's basically you're dependent on the supply and demand. But what else can you offer? What else can you be doing? And maybe that's the one thing that I learned when I went to San Diego, that I was thinking way too big. It's good to think big and you want to shoot for the stars. Yet the coaches talk about the big picture, but they forget to talk about the little daily steps that you have to do every single day to get to the big picture. And I was kind of like wrapped up in the big picture. Oh, you got to do this and scale and that is. And when I was talking to my coach, he's like, just just do one ad, and then when you get a phone number come in, just call them. So that's way different than scaling. And it wasn't the answer that I wanted to hear either, because with the DJ company, it's all one to one to one to one, and I really want to do one to many, which I guess I'm not even ready for the one to many step, because my coach is telling me do the one to one first. And then when you get to a point where it becomes too much, and that's when you do the scaling. And that could be frustrating, and if you're not moving, or finding the coach who's done it before to tell you how to do it, then you could be stuck. But if you keep moving, then you'll find all the wrong avenues, right? Wrong. What you wouldn't have been able to get on the right track unless you went down the wrong way or figured out what wasn't working for you. But if you're not doing anything, then you're not going to have any information to like analyze that, right? So you want to go out there and get as much done as humanly possible, so that you can sit back and look at the information and then figure out what worked best for you. And that was another thing that my coach was saying. He's like, well, if you do something really well and then you like doing it and people give you money for it, then just double down on that. And he would make jokes throughout the whole presentation. He would say, well, that worked, so I immediately stopped doing that. I guess it took me a little while to learn. So yeah, that could be something else too, because your path won't be the same as somebody else's. And yet that's the whole part of the journey, finding out what your path is for you. And that's been liberating in itself. So uh, just keep moving, find out what the goal is, find out people who've done the goal, learn from them, and then double down on what makes most sense for you, because we're all individuals. And that was another thing I took away from San Diego too. And this coach would say this a lot. He would say, it's okay to be you. You don't have to be somebody else. You don't have to do something that somebody else was doing. You can learn from them and then adapt to whatever works for what you have going on. And of course, you always want to be doubling down on your skills and learning and growing. And again, you can't do that if you're not moving. So many different things to think about when it comes to that too. So guys, what are you doing every single day to make sure that you're moving to where you want to go? I mean, I have a book and I write down every morning what I want to do and what I'm willing to do it. So keep that in mind too. There was something I posted on my personal Facebook today, and I had one person ask me, where's the best place to get leads? Well, this is what I did. I went and spent $1,000 a month for 6 months, and I bought a bunch of different services. And then after the 6 months, I figured out which one was giving me the most return, and then cut the other ones and just kept the one that worked. And that might be something you want to do, not just in finding leads, but just in life in general, or whatever the goal is. So if you're making the most amount of money to do one thing that you don't mind doing or do like doing, then just stick that. And then the other stuff that comes with it, you would probably want to hire somebody to take care of that part for you, so you could just focus on the one or two things that you like doing, and getting paid for. So
So
I
honing
don't
your skills is another thing you can do when you're not in the midst of all your gigs and stuff. And you can hone your gig, I mean, your skills on the gig too, but you want to be professional and don't put too much of that learning process in the middle of it if you don't know what it is. So, also, for instance, this week I was at an event and I was a stilt walker. And we put out a lot of entertainers, but I was a stilt walker and I got to the event in my toy soldier outfit, a button fell off. and and I had three or four other outfits I could have brought for backup, and I thought this was only a few hour gig, no big deal. And of course, you adapt, conquer, and overcome. So basically, I took the button off, and then I took the straps off that make the button look more, and I put it down. And but then now you have to repair that costume because you're going to have another event. So even though this event, I actually did the whole event with a button gone. But if you're doing your job, they're not going to recognize one little button, especially if you're either juggling or doing comedy or whatever you're doing. If they remember that button, then you probably didn't do your job. Yet you want to always be as most professional. So as soon as I got home, I put it in a pile to get it fixed. And not only that, my stilts had a little thing was it wasn't really affecting the safety, but it could in the future. So I glued the Velcro down. So to keep maintenance on all your stuff. So because
Jeff, what are some good NLP tricks to keep somebody in motion? Practices.
well, also doing the ease method and also, making a little goal and achieving it, you're going to get the dopamine hit. So boom, bang. And it also keeps you more happier. It brings in your happiness, hormones. So I would say, well, you got the same thing. Did you hear what he said a while ago? He says, every day I get up and I write it down. When you write it down, it goes into your unconscious more and it becomes more of a habit. So move away from the bad habits you got, like being lazy, not doing the things you want, towards those little things. What are you going to do each day to improve the business or the goal that you have? And because when you get there, when you get to like a Scott's level, when he's got 300 to 400 gigs a year, you're not going to have the time to be practicing some of this stuff. It's going to be practice in motion. So, and yes, you're going to learn on the fly, but you want to have all the basics ready and you want to know, even do the research where you're going to buy your equipment, who you're going to get that from. You could go to a like Scott and he could give you coaching on that. What's the best equipment to have? What do you really need for a backup system? And so get that in motion, because when you get to that point, you don't want to be going, oh my God, what do I do now? So on that way, you start making the notes. You just watch Scott's stuff, and then you have all the things. But what do you think? What's a good NLP for you? What would you think?
Well, when I was talking to somebody recently, they were holding themselves back because they were afraid of what somebody else might think of them. So they might not take that extra step because, oh, what would this person think? And it goes back to, well, the fear of what somebody might be thinking about you. And then I don't know if you've heard us talk about this at all, but there's regrets when you're on your deathbed, right? The regrets of the things that you did and you were apologetic for, and then the regret of things that you didn't go out and do, because you'll never know how that road would have led. And if you're worried about what other people may think about you, now let's think about that for a second. Are you really going out to hurt somebody else, or do you want to take a bold move and somebody may not approve of that? So, well, it's your life. You're the one that has to live it. And if you're holding yourself back because you're worried about what somebody else may think, even though you're not going out to hurt anybody, but benefit your life. It depends on what the goal is, but to be successful, I mean, you're not going to have 100% of the entire community saying how great you are. Of course, somebody else is going to say, "Oh, he's just doing that because he thinks he's so big," or something like that, right? And then, "Oh, I don't want that person to think bad about me." Well, if they're holding you back, I mean, are they really like friends or family or even worth considering? That was one thing that I was talking about. Oh, again, I keep going back to the San Diego guy because he didn't talk much about internet marketing. He was talking more about life coach stuff. And I'm like, I got Jeff. I don't need a happiness coach. But anyway, it was great to hear somebody who's made millions and and he was like, well, there's some people online that may not, approve of me or what I am, and they've never met me before. And you know what I could do? Just not look at it. I don't have to focus on any of that at all because I'm working on what makes the most sense for me and what makes me happy. And this guy truly likes helping the person in front of him. He even has a tattoo of love on his neck. And I was like, what does that mean? He's like, I'm talking to everybody with love. That's what it means. Everything that comes out of his out of him is supposed to be love. And he got a bunch of tattoos and stuff, but he explained that one. And I was like, oh yeah, that's great. And think about it. If you're going to hate on somebody who genuinely, if I can say the word, like he genuinely uh, loves when he talks. And if someone's going to hate on that, that's just a different perspective. And well, you know, would you really want to focus your time on somebody who's giving you negative energy, or would you rather focus your time on helping people in front of you, doing the best that you can for the other person, right? Because really,
Basically, what you
what are you
said,
going to get out of it? Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
basically what you said was, and it's true. Basically, you said your coach, what you just went to, and of course we're coaches, but the coach, you said it's okay to be yourself, because one thing everyone else is taken, so you might as well be yourself. Okay, because everybody else is taken. Here's a thing I used to say, I don't know, 10, 20 years ago. I would say, if I wanted to be friends with everybody in the world, and I just stood in front of everybody in the world and I put my hand out and I shake their hand to be their friend, I would be dead before I reached the end of the line, and I'd have three diseases. Okay, so that's the truth of it. So you can't please everyone, and I'm not saying as a narcissist or everything, but when what Scott was saying, basically, you know, it's okay to be yourself. It's okay. If you're not intently trying to hurt somebody, you have the right to run your company and do the decisions that's right for your company, as long as you're really not going out to hurt anyone. And there is no way on earth everybody's going to please anybody. Look at the politics, looks at anything. Almost anything you can say, somebody's going to say the opposite, even if they don't even care. They just want to piss you off. So seriously, you got to figure out who you are, what are you doing, and where are you going. We already know that the people you hang around with, you become like. So if you're not hanging around the people who want, let's say you hang around with a bunch of people who are not going where you want to go. Now, we're not saying get rid of these people, but put them to the side and go to the people that you want to be more like, because you only have so much life, and what are you going to do with it? So who are you going to, who can, I'm not saying everybody just who can help you get to anything, but you can learn together with a goal and similar path. It doesn't have to be the same even kind of company, but where do you want to go? What do you want to be? And like the generalization we're talking about today, in general, what are you doing each day to get where you want to go? It doesn't matter if you're a DJ company. It doesn't matter if it's an entertainment company. It doesn't matter if your yard company that does landscapes. It doesn't matter if you're a loan officer. It does, be the best, whatever you are, the best you can be. Because what Scott also mentioned a second ago is regret. There's two types of regret: things you did, but they're not really the hard one, because when you do something, either it did good or it did bad. And if it didn't do what you wanted to, now you learn for it. So it's not even a mistake, it's a learning experience. But when you don't follow your goals and do what you want to do, now you have regret that you can't change. What if? Now you're going to go, and I'm not saying you're going to, and I don't want to put that out there. Yet you could go into your mind, go, what if I would have done that? If I would. So, like Scott was saying, most people don't go to their deathbed going, oh, I should, they go, I should have done this, I should have done that. Like a Wayne Dyer would say, don't go to your grave with your song still in you. So write your song, do your job, become who you want to be each and every day. Because here's what I learned a long time ago: you cannot be perfect. The only thing you can be perfect at is being perfect at yourself the best you can each and every day. And then you don't have to live with regret. So, what are you doing each day to become whatever you want to be, whoever you want to be, and what do you want? So, and what we started out this conversation, what can you do on those off times you're not can't do the thing exactly what you're working on, you work on those other things that take away from when you get your job, those distractions. What are those distractions that keep you away? It might be your costuming, it might be your equipment. When you can't do a gig, go work on your equipment. If you can't do that, work on your car. If you can't do that, work on your finance. If you can't do that, work on your family, because it's all a balance in life. And the more you're out of balance one way, that takes your happiness away. So, because we want to live a good and happy life too. So, find out some of the things that make you happy and do those each and every day a little bit, and then get on to your work. And basically, go forward. And because when you're not going back, you're going backwards. Everybody else is going forward. Not everyone, but the people who want it and the people want it go forward. And when you're stagnant, you know, you got to watch
Well,
that. Go ahead.
here's something else to think about too. You could be holding yourself back because of someone's opinion, and let's say that person's opinion isn't even educated enough to give an opinion. I'll give you an example. I went into one of these Facebook groups, which seems to be piranhas in there, and I went and posted that I had beat my sales for last year. So it was I can't remember the exact numbers, but last year I did 340. This year I did, three. Well, I'm not finished yet. Well, anyway, I had just beaten it. And then I posted the picture inside the group and say, hey guys, I did it. You want to learn how I did it? And one of the comments in the group was like, oh, so you plateaued, trying to throw a stab at me. Well, let's just say this person isn't even educated enough to even make that statement, right? So that could have implanted a false belief in me. So I went and, when I was in San Diego, I told my coach, hey, look, I just beat last year's sales. The first thing he said to me was, oh my God, you still got another 6 or 7 weeks left. And I go, yeah. Why can't these dummies in this group understand that? You know what I mean? So sometimes people aren't even educated enough to like even give an opinion. And let's just say you're holding yourself back off of somebody's uneducated opinion, and then you're giving yourself a false belief based on somebody else's uneducated opinion. So I truly warn people about going into these Facebook groups because they're all pros. They're all pros. Just ask them. Like, they don't even understand. Like most of them don't even understand what marketing even means, or what sales even means, or going back and getting the numbers and studying them, or how to be more efficient, or at least like, oh, tell me more information before I pass a judgment. You know what I mean? They're just so quick to point because they're such know-it-alls. Like, I'm independent. I know what I'm doing. They could be living at home with their mom, or working a day job. This is what I do for a living. You know what I mean? And to pass judgment, it's probably like an ego thing. It makes me feel better to put you down, kind of thing. So again, there's so much of that garbage. And well, and we can also blame social media, right? Like that was another thing my coach was talking about. Like people have influencer blindness. There's only so many boobs and booty you can look at, or a guy with a Lamborghini, and then like you're feeling like, oh my God, I don't have those things. I must be inferior. So these beliefs are priming you, or these posts are priming you to be sick of it. And he's like, well, whatever people went through in 2020 to now, they're just over it. So they're just different people than what they used to be because they got fed all this garbage. And it goes back to the Dunning-Kruger effect, where that is taking over. People that know so little think they know so much because they saw some sort of video or something, and now they're super educated on all these different things, where the person who does know a whole lot about something won't speak out because they know they have to ask more freaking questions in order to get all the information. Where we got these loudmouth know-it-alls that know nothing taking over the internet because they just got a camera. They're going to keep going. So, so think about that. Are you holding yourself back over some sort of false belief that you got from somebody that didn't know anything to begin with? So, and would you be kicking yourself for not, learning more, or taking the extra steps, or failing forward? I mean, it's just really, it's kind of the state that we're in right now, and this is what internet is supposed to be bringing people together. This is how people are being divided. That was another thing my coach talked about too, because he really liked to see people learn and grow. And there's a tactic. I don't know. There's a whole bunch. Like I'll go over them if you guys hit me a message or whatever. But one of the tactics that my coach doesn't like to use, well, I guess he used it once and then used it a couple times, and then he figured out what it was doing, and then he was like, no, I don't use that anymore. But it's the us versus them. So when you go in and you make a post, it's like, oh, I'm team Mike Tyson or whatever, and anybody else doesn't know what they're talking about. And then the other person will come in and like, oh, I'm team Jake Paul, and nobody else knows what they're talking about. And that becomes compelling. And like the people that want to talk about it, like jump on the sides and they're forced to move. There's money there, right? But what's that really doing? That's dividing people. And he's like, I don't use that tactic, or like I've seen what it does. Like I just want to educate people and push them forward versus like dividing them. So that's something to think about as well. I mean, I'm really considering this coach like the guru of internet marketing. And that was another thing he talked about too. Like there was a research done on internet marketers, and they were looked at as like the lowest form of what people don't like. Like they're even lower than politicians. And he's like, politicians, really? But still, in order to generate revenue, you got to be pretty good at marketing. So, or to be good at marketing, you have to understand the audience. And well, if you know that's what it is, well, you just have to accept that, like the law of gravity. Well, now that we know the law of gravity is there, what can we do to move forward from there? So, yeah, again, some of these Facebook groups are just garbage. I know they're garbage. I stopped posting in there. I'm just going to post on my wall, and anybody that wants to learn and grow can come to my wall. I might try another post there again because I like practicing sleight of mouth. So, for any of you guys that don't know what sleight of mouth is, that like you could take any belief or any structure and come up with 16 different ways to pivot around it. And I kind of like being able to do that. There was another thing inside the coach that I had in San Diego. One of the people in the audience, she says, "Oh, I sell water paint, right? I teach people how to make really good water paint art, within a couple of weeks." So I don't remember. It's a short time frame, and she's like, "Oh man." I post these things on Facebook, and then people are calling me a scam because these water paints look like professional pictures. I stood up and it was like, I consider that a compliment. And the coach was like, he was like, no, don't give it any energy. Because I like to flip things, right? Like, oh, you think I'm a fake? It looks like a regular picture. That's a compliment. I'm not a scam. I mean, take the class, learn how to do it. But my coach was like, no, if you give that any energy, it's just gonna.
Well, I think Scott froze for a second, so
It's gonna skyrocket.
sorry. I
Oh,
think
you're free.
you're
Oh,
frozen. I don't know if they're getting it or not, but yeah, a lot of this boils down to is work on yourself. I mean, at the base of this, we want you to have, because if you're worried about what everybody else thinks, you're worrying, it's not going to, I mean, you can select a few people who you admire and who's your coaches and who's your family and everything, and taper to there, but there's no way you can taper to everybody in the world. So what we want you to do is actually work on yourself, your inner self, live by your values, figure out what you want, and then go for your goals. And that's what we teach every week. It's basically be the best you can be, because if you do the best you can every day, you never have to live in regret. You don't want to be on that. And also, it doesn't matter what everybody else thinks about yourself. It's about what you think about yourself. And then go back to say, I always say, just go to the mirror. I love and accept myself, who I am. And, if I want to get better, I can work on that. But if people are telling you you're not worthy, they're the wrong people to hang out with. And if you go to one of those sites who say you're stupid or whatever, or that you don't know what you're doing, don't go to those sites. It's sort of like, I'm going to get ran over if I go over there. Then I just say, don't go over there, right? So you don't have to put yourself through hell just because it's out there. If you know there's a fire over there and you know you're going to get burned if you walk over there, go walk to somewhere where you're going to have sunshine. Because we already know there's always a yin and yang, there's always good and bad. What do you focus on? We go right back to that, is what are you focusing on, you'll find more of. So Focus on the things that's working for you, that's bringing you to closer to your goals. And remember, you're a person too, and you have the right to be as happy as everyone else. Anybody telling you different is just a suckhead. So the other thing is, you know, worry about your tribe, whatever your tribe is, whatever the people you worry about. And those other people out there who's just throwing crap at you, just let it reflect, just like the water off a duck's back. You don't have to take everything personal. You never have to take a conversation personal. You can just say, whoever's doing nastiness to you, it's about them. If they're nasty, the way you are going to react to that is about you. So be true to yourself, find your tribe, do, the things like Scott saying, uh, you can't really please everyone. And if everybody's screaming at you at this one place, don't go there anymore. There's
Well,
another road.
I think we're gonna end on that.
Okay.
Alrighty, guys. Once again, make sure to visit the website.